And I know there's been a lot of discourse around the world about how OP blue side is, and win rate for blue side is pretty high. LPL is one of the few regions where the red side win rate is not that far negatively skewed, actually.
where it's not super apparent. Yeah, well, that's nice that we get to see maybe a little bit of competition between these two teams, not just whoever gets blue side ends up winning. But IG starting off with the Aurora Open. Again, great flex pick. Rookie has played a fair few Aurora games already. Whenever he gets his hands on this champ, he's more than happy to take it. Notable picks that are still available, I'm looking at the Nocturne especially, and I think that Top might want to use that this game. They can do Nocturne Orianna this game round and probably find some decent amount of success with it. Still looking at pretty much every AD carry being open as well. The only ban taken away is that Kalista, so we may end up with the Ashvarus trade or Corki Ezreal, some Kai'Sa maybe thrown in.
Yeah, I do like that Top Esports are putting Kanavi on tank duty, though, for game 1. I think that's kind of alleviates Chris from having to also be potentially the only tank on the team, since game 1 you still have a plethora of supports that are engage bots for your team. But a lot of the Top Esports have been games that I've seen kind of struggling when Crisp is the only person on engage duty. It definitely seems like if they relieve that responsibility to someone else, then Crisp has definitely a better time. And for IG, just recognizing that, hey, they have long range tools in both the Equalizer and the Glacial Prison, so gonna lock in that Ezreal and gives them that little bit of extra mobility and safety for Gala.
Okay, Top Esports locking themselves in a very powerful topside trio, it's worth saying. Double melee with Sejuani. Again, stacking up that Permafrost passive for the Sejuani for her to get a stun in before she's even in range. Looks very good. We saw this literally just ran yesterday by Tarzan and Shanks, and they absolutely tore it up in a game 5 with this Sejuani combo. They're going to be looking to replicate some of that success for the next round of picks and for this game as well. I like this Kai'Sa ban taken off the board. There's a lot of dive on this Top Esports roster, so getting rid of the Kai'Sa for JackeyLove definitely makes sense. It's also a very good matchup versus the Ezreal as well. And you can see disengage options being taken away. Braum may be something that they might consider picking Top Esports here, maybe banning it away as well, because they don't want to find themselves engaging and then being met by Idol of Durand, being met by this incredible Braum disengage that they've got as well.
Or being taken off the table as well. They're just trying to get rid of any methods of reliable engage or even counter engage to deal with the fact that Top Esports pretty heavy on the dive so far. I will say that IG have decent makings for this Viego composition, but they are lacking any engage tools, which is a great thing that Top Esports have sniped 2 of them away. Now, Cassante was banned, Ambessa was banned, and if you're looking at like champions that can set up that engage for you, what do we think?
The issue for IG here is that you would take engage on support, but if they take engage here, it means they're going to get Braumed, they're going to get Ash Braumed as well, which is going to be a devastating 2v2, so they have to lane swap, but they're kind of forced into it unless they go for some sort of top lane engage. That's their only real option here, and I like the idea of pivoting away from this, that okay, we're going to have to play a little bit of range, and they just take the Karma, which I think has been hit or miss, let's say, so far in the LPL. There have been notable really bad Karma games and notable, maybe not so awful Karma games as well. But IG taking this, I would expect it to be paired with the Ezreal just to try and match some of the Ash's laning prowess. And in fact, IG just saying, all right, we're going all carries essentially, right? They don't have that true form of engage now. Maybe the emphasis on whichever one of these players takes the Silas to steal away some engage and maybe use that for themselves. But that's about as good as it gets for IG here.
Yeah, I mean, we had a fun feature video about Shinobi War, and, maybe whoever pilots the Silas is using some Genjutsu to steal some engage tools from the side of Top Esports here. I mean, you can steal the Ash Arrow, the Glacial Prison from Kanavi, hell, even the Fate Sealed if you feel courageous enough to dive deep into the backline. And Top Esports gonna round it out with even more powerful engage in the Magnet Storm. So Top Esports, their objective here, Rude, is one direction, and that is forward.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount as well the side lane capabilities that Top Esports have. I think that's something that they can really look to leverage this game, with the Yone especially, that they can put on a very solid 4-1, and if we end up seeing a little bit of side lane neglect, let's say, there's a very real world that Yone can start taking turrets quite quickly. IG, on the flip side, they've got themselves this very much skill check composition where we have Silas Aurora solo lanes, we have Ezreal Karma bot lane, and there's not a lot of engage necessarily. They're going to be looking for those skirmishes, because if we get into a fully fledged 5 versus 5, the idea of a front line doesn't really exist for IG. Getting that first kill, and especially when you've got Viego comps, finding resets, being able to pick off one target is very important, and that really needs to be fulfilled as IG this game.
I mean, the one thing about Viego compositions is you always want to have a lot of burst damage reliably scattered throughout your composition. And, well, IG's got that plenty in supply here. Pretty much every single champion on this roster can deal a decent bit of damage, if not a ton of it, right? The Silas and the Aurora on their item spikes gonna have plenty of burst in supply. Ezreal can whittle down opponents from afar with mystic shots and true shot barrages. Hell, even this Karma for Meiko going this the Airy rune as well is gonna be tagging people with those mantra Qs as well. So it really is coming down to potentially a banger game 1 opener for Jiejie on his signature Viego, the world championship skin he won in 2021.
Especially when you're playing up against this Karma Ezreal lane, you need to be looking for those lane swaps, spotting out where people are going. You can see IG also trying to do a little bit of that themselves, making sure that they know who's going into which lane. So there is going to be some decent amount of information given to both of these sides, and I expect that Top will try and initiate some form of a lane swap. They've got, you know, they're playing against Ezreal Karma on one side, and they're playing melee versus range on the other as well. So no expectations for Top to try and do anything standard, and you can already see that JackeyLove and Crisp are making their way up to this top side, and at least attempting to try and find a advantageous position for them to lane. 2v2 to start out in the mid lane, which is again one of these adaptations that we've begun to see. Have to admit, this is slightly favourable for the IG side, since they do have a ranged player that can try and take the majority of this CS. You can already see Creme and 369 needing to play just a little bit more cognizantly, a little bit more scared, more so than anything else, as we have got this complete split map happening. So you will see Jiejie will probably take all 3 camps down in this blue side of the Top Esports jungle. Expectation should be that Kanavi finishes the top side here and then moves into the top side as well. My concern for this is that when they look for this cross map, I'm looking at the mid lane right now. Shy and Rookie have got that better priority. They have got the ability to move in if they so desire, if they want to try and defend that, something that they might be able to look to do. Again, the whole reason that this lane swapping thing happens is to try and prevent these awful lanes from happening, and, you know, so that your AD carry can get that farm, can get gold. But when you're doing this as Top Esports, you're moving yourselves out of the fortification lane, out of the bot lane, where it's a lot easier to take those plates. And you can see now, with Invictus Gaming making 3 people strong down on this bot side, they're going to be able to get a few more plates. And Top Esports, I think quite rightly, just looking to play a little bit on tempo. They will take the wave first and then have a pretty rough position for themselves when they try and split map back. We are just trying to fix some audio issues for Raafaa, so we'll see if we can get him back in as soon as possible. But for Creme and Rookie now getting to find themselves a little bit of solo time in this mid lane, see what they can do versus one another. And as those first resets start to come through, you can see JackeyLove and Crisp, they found themselves just a couple of levels. They will now make their way down to the bot side. And for Gala and Meiko, expectations, they will push those minions, may make their recall happen, and then assert themselves back out onto the map. Overall, not the greatest advantage picked up by either side. Top Esports alleviated some of those early game woes, as now Creme steps into the mid lane looking for Rookie, as Kanavi not quite able to find too much purchase on that gank. We can see the pings happening down on the spot side. Jiejie and Meiko looking to try and steal away a second spawn of those wolves. With the prior that the Ezreal Karma will give you, they will at least start to fight Kanavi for the Wolves, you'd like to think. And first move from mid lane looks to be going Creme's way. That stacked up Tornado. Smite secure for Kanavi, picks up the big Wolf. Jiejie able to find the second and third Wolves respectively. But you can already see why Top Esports wanted to try and swap out of this situation. Ezreal Karma can just move first. This doesn't change anytime soon. And they are allowed to walk into this bot side. And now again, looking at the solo lanes for IG, they have got prio. They've got the control of their lanes of their own. So if Kanavi tries to invade here, there's a small risk that he gets collapsed on. Now, unfortunately, he's got plenty of warding down, so he can at least track his way through this river. But he's a little bit homeless right now, so ganks are his only real option. And again, it's being read by IG. As we see, 369 had himself just a little bit of a freeze on this top side, but there's so much vision, so much coverage that doesn't really have to be scared and can just know when and when not to be pushing forward, pushing on up. Kanavi once again just makes his way into this mid lane. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about before this series as a whole is this is an opportunity now for IG to redeem themselves. This is a rematch of a Demacia Cup playoff series that we got. Granted, that was only a best of 3, but it was a best of 3 that Top Esports took 2-0, and even despite Rookie's best efforts on the Aurora, we'll remember, to try and keep them in this game, in that game 2 that they ended up losing. It was a clean sweep for Top Esports. They found themselves 2-0 quite easily, and IG, you know, coming into the regular season of the LPL, or at least into the group stage of the LPL, we were thinking they needed to do some form of redeeming for themselves. There's now 369 going to get tethered up on this top side by Meiko, but no support from the rest of the squad just yet means that he's able to walk it on out. But this isn't just a best of 5 for IG that keeps them in the LPL, despite it being their main priority. It's one that gives them a chance to redeem themselves versus a top squad that has bested them previously. So far, so good for this early game, as we're now seeing a lot of movement up to this top side. Top Esports going to have to concede these first 3 groups. For the time being, Invictus Gaming continuing their relative success through this early game. Only 700 gold to begin with for the first 6 minutes, and early tracking down to the bot side. Stolen Enchanting Crystal Arrow locks up Crisp, who does Ferromancy away. JackeyLove forced to flash, and IG unsuccessful in finding those kills, but a couple of early summoner spells burned. And again, with that play being made into the mid lane, IG should look to try and contest this dragon. Now, normally you will see those grubs for Drakes traded. Not going to be the case this time round. A little collapse from IG means that bot lane is forced away. JackeyLove with no flash now should make it so that we've got a at least opportunity for IG to continue their contest of these objectives. 369 forced to equalizer up on this top side, just so we can find a recall and not lose out on too much on the flip side. But for the most part, in this early stage, you can see why Top Esports wanted to swap out this bot lane, make sure that their Ashe Rel weren't laning against Ezreal Karma. And even despite that swap coming through, Gala Meiko, they still have decided advantages in gold in the bot lane. You know, it may only be 300, but when we're looking at no gold having been exchanged through things like kills or assists, just the CS advantage and just the plates advantage that they've been able to find is proof enough that this is going to be a devastating 2v2 to lane against.
I mean, you say that, Rude, but it feels like I just got back in 8 minutes and there's been no action. What have I missed?
Oh, yeah, well, there has been very little action, Mark, to be honest. It's been me gaslighting myself into thinking that these two teams are going to make me work for my play-by-play check, and they've kind of been grateful, or rather respectful of your tech issues more so than anything else. I got to do one flash. JackeyLove got his flash burned, but that was about it, really.
Dang. So we didn't get to see any real testament of Rude's play-by-play abilities.
And that's something that, you know, the people may not be sad about, but they will be grateful for if it happens to need to happen, you know? Like, they'll soon realize, this was a good thing, I see.
Gotcha. Well, IG now trying to get ready for this first dragon of the game, and they're well past the ready state. They're just going to take it now. The fact, will Top Esports try and contest and look for a pick here? The Glacier Prison still connects despite the flash. Oh, Rookie tried to sidestep and dodge the ulti.
Sedge damage?
He should go down. There it is. Kanavi picks up first blood.
Yeah, one more whack with the flail. Kanavi able to find it. You see, you come back, Mark, and they start fighting. They were just waiting for you to return. Top
so
Esports,
respectful of them.
And honestly, respect has been the name of the game for Top so far this game. They lane swapped out their bot lane so that they didn't have to lane versus Ezreal Karma. IG had pretty much tried to take everything on the map for the most part, and you can see, right, 3 grubs, Dragon going their way also. Top have been playing this respectful game, but collecting gold elsewhere. And a reminder that, you know, this IG composition is going to thrive in skirmishes, but when we get to these 5 versus 5 fights, we're really expecting it to struggle. The lack of frontline could not be, you know, more palpable, and I think that Rookie, you know, going to feel a little bit worse for wear here as he does flash from the Sedge ulti, gets caught by the lollipop of it, and then a flash follow from Creme. There's an Ashe ulti as well. The fact that he stays alive for this long, honestly, a surprise to me, but yeah, the red buff plus flail combo from Kanavi able to find the quick pick up first blood, going over to top.
Now, gold lead is still pretty even, and IG can at least be content with the fact that they've picked up the first 2 neutral objectives of the game. Second rotation of grubs is spawning in 25 seconds. Rookie is down a flash, but so is JackeyLove. So if JackeyLove shows up to the fight, that could be a target that IG want to look for and try to pick off. Now, JackeyLove is already heading towards the mid lane to at least help contest for mid prio, since Meiko and Gala are already here doing the same thing. IG, I don't know if they're necessarily favored in being able to answer top esports for the second rotation of grubs, since we've got teleports available from both the solo laners, even though they're on the bottom side of the map.
So I think that they need to fight for these grubs, to be honest. I think that as the game gets later, the game gets more difficult for them. I think that the ceiling of this IG composition probably rivals the ceiling of the top esports one, but the level of execution for IG is so much higher. Top have got 2 front lines, 3 carries, and they all do dive pretty well. And now IG trying to fight for these grubs.
True shot barrage. I believe Kanavi was able to smite, secure one of them. Looks for the Glacial Prison, and
Rookie.
this one hits Rookie again, and no flash to even dodge it. Now the rest of IG trying to see if they can collapse and get a revenge kill or 2, but TheShy goes way too deep, and now Creme for the re-engage. Looks for the backline. Meiko and Gala are in trouble. Jiejie tries to Heartbreaker out, but his heart is still shattered in pieces as 369 tries to flash forward, looks for the kill, but gets flashes out of Gala and Meiko. And top esports, first 12 minutes of the game route, and they're running away with it.
And you just see the power of the engage that top have. Kanavi spots Rookie a little bit too far forward, collapses on him with the Glacial Prison. And if IG had any form of engage themselves, maybe they would have been able to punish top for starting the grubs in their face. But you can see top esports, they just walk away and they collapse in their own right, find their own little angle that they can go for. TheShy, unfortunately, they're not connecting. JackeyLove with some good movement makes himself safe. Yes, the barrier keeps him alive, but another fight where IG find themselves a little bit worse for wear without those resets and without Jiejie popping off.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the big key point about what is the struggle of IG's composition, and it's the area of execution that you need to be performing at with the champions that you've assembled compared to what top esports have to work with. It's definitely way higher, right? As you've already called out, no real forms of engage other than what Rookie can steal with the Silas ultimate, but the fact that there's no true frontliner on IG, if you misstep, if you pick a flank angle too fast or desynced from the rest of your team and they're not collapsing at the same time as you are, you get blown up, and then the rest of the fight is completely lopsided.
And then you start to think, okay, well, as long as we've got poke, right, the fact that we haven't got engage isn't the worst thing in the world. But then you look at the poke that IG have is, well, I'm looking at Gala, and that's about where it ends. Maybe Meiko, but you can see he's building, you know, Forbidden Idol, looking towards that redemption for his first item again. Redemption for poke, maybe, but it's not that AP Karma that's going to be, you know, chunking you for a third, a quarter of your HP off of every mantra Q. Like I say, I think this, yeah.
Maybe the true damage with redemption will really hit at some point in the game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, man. I'm not coping at all. No chance.
You know, I obviously this is only 13 minutes into the first game, and it's a solid 2,000 gold advantage for top esports. It's not, you know, doomsday scenario for IG, but when we're looking at just already the problems that we saw both of these teams were having in the group stage, already one of the teams is seeing those inconsistency issues and the level of execution required to be able to perform is starting to show itself once again.
Yeah, and I think that top, you know, they, like you'd mentioned, right, as much as it's a good little bit for you not having been here, but they did play respectfully. They made sure that IG didn't get a bigger snowball than top esports were comfortable with, and now IG are in this position where they've now somehow got to fight their way back into this game, which, again, don't get me wrong, might be possible, but is going to be much more difficult than it is for top esports to just continually find 5 versus 5s, look for a little bit of a death ball. And, you know, the other part of this composition that I've highlighted as a potential issue for IG is that they're going to have to deal with the Yone and the split push that Creme can put down. Starting out this game 2-0-1. Again, the start for Creme this game has been phenomenal. One of the players that doesn't have the same pedigree as the rest of his roster, and that has honestly struggled in this year and in this group stage of the LPL. But a good start to game number 1 here, the best of 5 going well to begin with. This is a chance for him to right some of those wrongs, and with TheShy now in trouble bot lane.
TheShy already popping his W. Does he want to throw out the ultimate? Kanavi is not going to take that chance. The fact that they're able to pressure TheShy off the turret is good enough. Meanwhile, 369 just evaporating the wave very quickly with the equalizer. Pretty standard stuff for Rumble in these scenarios, and just want to be able to get a quick back in while the rest of your team is making a play on the other side of the map so that you're not in danger. You already see that Jiejie potentially looking for an opportunity to try and punish 369 if he overstays for another wave here, but assuming that top esports are playing the map pretty safely and correctly here, they should just get a pretty easy turret trade with no repercussions on the other side.
Yeah, you know, turret trade, I think it might just be a turret, to be honest, and 369 now going to be the prio on top side.
Ah, okay, well, 369 may have overextended for the wave. He thought, hey guys, maybe I can get this wave in, and, you know...
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're not allowed to do that, but it's okay. I respect it. I've played with enough top laners now when I understand why they go for that wave, and he, for his credit, he got a majority of it. I think I've been in call with you, Rude, and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna die for this wave.
I definitely said that. But what I would never say, never, joking, is I'm going to die for this Rift Herald, and that may end up being the consequence for 369 here. IG, they've got the numbers advantage in this top lane. 5 versus 4, they should be able to take this, but top are still posturing aggressively and TPing in.
Oh, the Q flash looks for Rookie, but he flashes away in time. Creme now, Fate Seal right back onto TheShy. Jiejie looks for the Heartbreaker, but doesn't get the reset. Creme is out of there. JackeyLove in trouble, though. Gala's on the front, looks for it, and forces JackeyLove to flash. Now, top esports, without their damage dealers, they are in trouble because it's just frontliners without any abilities, and Kanavi's now in a world of trouble, and this is where the IG composition can thrive. Pro skirmishing and all the power to them when they can thrive in the chaos, and top esports are actually stumbling.
Will be able to net themselves the Rift Herald as well, which in the long run probably finds them that turret that we were scared of them losing in the first place, and getting some kills back now, evening up that gold graph and making sure that they're not out of this game just yet. Quick true shot barrage into that top side to spot out 369, potentially secure himself a faster recall as well. But overall, IG, you know, just when we were thinking it's going to be a little bit more tricky for them in this game, it didn't get easier for them. They showed that actually we've got a couple of hands of our own. The reason that this fight is so much better and so much easier is Gala is left completely unchecked. That one form of poke that we were talking about is able to fire off consistently, able to isolate JackeyLove, so he's never a part of this fight. Able to take some damage onto Creme as well, forcing the flash out of the Ashe, and it allows for this 4 versus 3 to happen on the other side of the fight. And in that situation, yes, IG are able to, you know, keep themselves alive and then begin to find those resets. They get everything that they're looking for in that fight. A flash out of JackeyLove, the Rift Herald off the back as well, and just again, like we said, scared for how the game was going to go, they make it turn back around.
Well, now top esports are going to see if they can get revenge, but Jiejie is hovering TheShy. However, he's got no flash, and that Glacial Prison in the Ashe Air from downtown just says good night to the top laner of IG.
Little red dot on the top of TheShy's head there as JackeyLove from downtown snipes him out. And they're not really going to lose anything for this either. A little dash forward from Gala to get some poke damage back, but top esports again answering very aggressively. This side lane that we sort of highlighted could be a concern. Continuing really to prove to be exactly that. Creme finds himself yet another timer on this bot side to be alone, to start hitting turrets. And again, this neglect from IG to respect the side lane is costing them. It's TheShy getting caught on a side lane.
And for IG, so far, we've only seen success when they're able to create these pulling apart top esports in these multi-skirmish scenarios where champions are picking individual 1v1s. But when top esports are able to set up their solo laners, continuing the snowball of their, quite frankly, their solo lane prowess over their solo lane counterparts at the moment, and just based on how much gold both 369 and Creme have over their counterparts, this is where top esports can deny IG the opportunity to look for those skirmish scenarios.
Yeah, and Creme's going to have ulti up again in not too distant future, and without some respect and some priority shown from IG, yep,
oh,
TheShy.
Man. They hate TheShy, man. He's not getting a chance to play the game. Already 4 deaths in, but a punish on the Creme, but a good Q3 over the wall gets him out to safety. Kanavi and Crisp also here just to escort him out.
Didn't even need to use his ultimate that time round either, so there's a very real opportunity for Creme now to try and make a play in this mid lane, and I love the way that Top are moving from one side of the map to the other. They make sure that they get a pick on one side, they leverage that into an advantage on the rest of the map as well. IG have to play respectfully as there's a little flank here.
Rookie's looking for JackeyLove, but he goes for Creme, but then dashes back onto JackeyLove. I mean, what the was the focus there? I mean, maybe they could turn it around, but as I say, that Jiejie also falls in an instant in top esports. That just looked like 2 kills gift wrap for free.
And JackeyLove will more than happily take them. A double kill for the Ashe, and Jackie, you know, has no flash. Should have been the attention of IG, but he's able to mind control Rookie into sending him one direction before he pivots his way back. And again, just a little desync to the execution of this composition for IG. The bar is very high, and in that fight, they weren't able to meet it. This is Rookie lurking. He's sort of torn between two sides, baiting in initially Creme and Kanavi, but they immediately turned back onto JackeyLove. No stolen away ulti really used, and it was a little bit questionable, we can't lie, and it definitely costs IG big.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Now, if you have like a brawler Silas build and you're super durable and, you know, you're just trying to buy time for the rest of your team to collapse, that makes sense. But this is Electrocute Silas, Proto Belt. You have a decent amount of burst, and I feel like if you're going to go for the kill, you got to dump all your cooldowns into the same target. So the fact that we saw Rookie initially go to Creme and then to JackeyLove, it made me trip up. I'm like, what am I watching? But, you know, IG, they have the capabilities of, you know, playing better. You know.
And I do think, Mark, as well, I want to talk about what the stakes are, not just for IG. Okay, I'll hold as Crisp gets out of the tether. But the stakes for the IG organization, right? Yes, if they lose here, they go out of the LPL, but the story of this IG roster build for 2025 was a complete switch up from previous iterations of IG. They've splashed out on a super roster, this super team of players, for the first time in a long, long time. And if they get knocked out of playoffs, the first chance they get, that is an unequivocal failing. IG, an organization with a massive fan base, Rookie and TheShy, massive fan bases themselves. Their fans don't want to see them get knocked out in the first round of playoffs, and struggling in game 1 of the best of 5 is not the indicator that they'd be looking for.
Yeah. Well, they have plenty of a series and games to play out just in case they need to go the distance here. Down 3,000 gold against top esports, who already had way better showing in this first game so far. Both teams getting ready for potentially a fight over the Otacon, which has spawned on the top side of the map. Still a couple minutes before Baron spawns, and then 3 for the third or fourth dragon of the game, I should say. 369 already applying pressure on the bottom side. That's going to force TheShy to answer.
And I will say the sort of shining light in the dark right now for IG is Gala. He's been continually able to force JackeyLove out if his team is, you know, not losing on side lane, has this prio push in mid lane, is up just a little bit of gold versus his enemy AD carry, and is really the only part of this game so far that looks to be going well for IG. If some of these fights end up being won, you can expect it to be off the back of some good Gala poke and those resets coming through from Jiejie. The solo laners of IG, Shy, Rookie, those massive fan base players, franchise almost with IG, from their win in 2018, not having the stand-up that they need to so far in game 1.
Yeah, 0 or 1 and 7 collectively on the solo laners. I mean, these are the two responsible alongside JackeyLove, who they face against them and on top esports side. They were the 3 members responsible for bringing LPL its first world championship back in 2018, and then that began an era of Okay, he was running out of the timer.
Yeah.
That looked awkward for a bit. But, you know, there's so much that goes into being able to net your region the first world championship, and that's why we have such high expectations for these players, because it's not like, you know, that was the peak and that was it. You know, both of these players have been able to see, you know, illustrious careers before and a little bit after, but, you know, in this lower bracket, where both teams are in similar positions of not having the benefit of 2 lives had they started in the upper bracket, it's just the 1 series loss you are afforded before your split is over.
And I think as well, for Rookie specifically, you know, won that World Championship in 2018, and in recent years has been, you know, hailed as one of the best LPL mids that we've got, but never made it to the international, not had that same level of domestic success really at all for the most recent years. And again, this could just be yet another notch on the belt of Rookie failings, or instances where we were expecting great things but they weren't quite happening. And Top Esports, you know, this team that again has also struggled as Gala eat forward.
Good cleanse, but the Arcane Shift and the Flash are forced out. JackeyLove is still on the front. Maybe it's a punish. Good for Jiejie to get the reset, but he's in the Ash and he's going to provide the slows. And now Top Esports, they're the ones that overextended. And here it comes. Wait a minute, Creme on the back. Soul Unbound finds Gala, but it's still only the solo leaders of Top Esports left to fend for themselves, while IG still have 4 to play with.
And what are they? They're looking for the dragon here, I suppose, but would have much rather they turn toward the Atacon. It's a much bigger objective, and I think that the way that they're playing out this game, they're going to need it to try and stave off some of that aggression from top, and a rare misstep almost from Kanavi there as he goes just a little bit too deep. Gala once again. Yes, he's the one that goes down, but he's able to bait in so much of Top Esports. It opens the floodgates for IG to create these battle lines that allow access to Jiejie, to the backline, and make sure that Ash ends up falling. And it feels like whichever team are the ones looking most aggressively are the ones that are typically finding themselves struggle. See Gala, as soon as he eats forward, JackeyLove massive on the response. But Gala able to find himself enough cooldowns, gets another Arcane Shift back up and ready, and you can see that IG have complete and unfettered access to the backline. And importantly as well, they're 5. They were ready. 369 and Creme didn't get to the fight until just that little bit later, and they end up losing out for it.
Yeah, and these are a couple of the decent inconsistencies we've seen from Top Esports throughout the group stage play, right? And it's not showing up at the most convenient of times, since they had such a nice lead against IG, but they're burning down this Otacon fairly fast. Jiejie cannot get in. Good warding by Creme to just block Jiejie's entrance. That's the Otacon secured for Top Esports.
And I mean, that's a product of IG looking for the dragon, as opposed to looking for this Atacon off the back of what was a 1 fight, and it feels like that's almost just been neutralized immediately. Yes, they're going to get the push in on a mid-wave, but that's about it. Rookie now in a little bit of trouble, backs off immediately as soon as Creme shows up. 3 people showing on this top side, attempting to extend this Atacon.
He's waiting for Rookie to use a W. Oh, the Glacier Prison goes wide. Fate Seal doesn't quite land. Rookie still gets clipped on his way out with the Fate Seal. Maybe it's enough damage with the Soul Unbound. Yes, it is. Q3 goes right through him, and Jiejie can't do anything to bail out his mid laner.
The record will show that they used their ults and they got the kill. That's all that's important. We don't need to talk about how many of the skill shots actually landed, but taking Rookie out, a 30-second death timer now, 27 minutes into this game. Feels like it's been a bit of a slow one, but those objectives have spawned. We've got a Baron up on the map. Top Esports not looking for it.
JackeyLove's in trouble. Instantly popped by TheShy. He's got the Otacon GA, so he's going to be back on the field. But the rest of Top Esports are fancying this fight. Maybe it's just all the back of Creme. He gets another Q3 and takes out TheShy alongside Chris. But Kanavi's going to fall. Otacon GA number 2 is expended. And 369 was pushing through top lane all the same.
Okay, so a 2 for 2, quote, in the long run. A couple of fake deaths burned from Top Esports. And TheShy here, despite being 0-4, or whatever score he had going into that fight, found himself JackeyLove and took him out of the fight pretty easily, to be honest. The 2-item Aurora were able to handily deal with the 3-item AD carry. And Jiejie, you know, going to need to be a little bit more cognizant of that going forward. That top, or mid-tier 1 rather, still stands. You can see TheShy starts off with a need to find the slow, recognizes this is his window to go for it. Yes, he ends up getting taken out. But Creme commits very heavily for that, not able to find much more as Top have now turned to the Baron.
Okay, Top Esports are burning it super fast. Jiejie is chunked below 50% HP. 1400.
Steal!
He stole it! Jiejie that Heartbreak. He doesn't escape, but he did his damn duty. He stole the Baron, and now all IG's got to do is just live and not give over any more deaths. And man, they're advancing more, but Creme finds the angle. Fate sealed onto Gala. Rookie saves him, and he gets back out with a solo unbound. Gala is still surviving through it all, and 369 tries to flash the abilities damage from the shot, and he wins the 1v1 just barely. Oh, Rude, we have a banger on our hands as Rookie is looking for a revenge kill, but 369 gets out with that blast cone.
My word, Raafaa, so much just happened, and IG come away with the Baron. Top Esports think that they can use the attack on tempo, those fake deaths and shorter death timers to get out into the map, find the objective before IG can get there. But Jiejie, with just the thinnest of margins, flashes in, Heartbreakers out, steals the Baron, and keeps IG very much in this game. Gala stepping forward here, doesn't quite recognize how many people are there, and keeps himself nice and safe. But a 2-for-1 in the back half of this, maybe just a 2-for-0.
How close was this?
So Jiejie flashes in, steals with 23 HP, Heartbreakers out over the wall, still goes down to a JackeyLove auto. They burn another fake death as well, worth saying there that Meiko ends up buying enough time in this front line to sort of zone off. And then Gala E forward, and I thought this was a step too far, but he's got the support of the Karma, he's got the cleanse, he's able to get out. 369 here knows that with the flash, he can make this work. Flashes out on the Q of TheShy, just keeps himself safe, as now IG with this Baron are looking to take turrets.
And suddenly, even though they're down 3,000 gold, they have the means to be able to gain some ground back on the map, being able to take that bottom tier 1. This is going to give them a little bit better vision line control as they can push it further into the jungle quadrant of Top Esports just in time for the next dragon spawning, as IG are trying to get mid control at the same time.
And I think that this story of the game is most best reflected in those gold charts down on the bottom of your screen that you see. Jungle and bot lane relatively even, but the solo lanes absolutely being destroyed as Top Esports. You know, 3k gold lead in that mid lane, 1.5 on that top side as well. And Rookie has had a rough game. TheShy has struggled in this first match. 369 and Creme, you can see experience leads, gold leads, everything that they have is going their way. And you know, if they just want to Top Esports here, find themselves a stable situation, setting up that 1-3-1 might do very well for them. As Creme, you can see flexing himself here. He's got Blade of the Ruin King for a little bit of lifesteal. He's also got that Immortal Shield Bow fairly early on for that innate safety that he can look at. And then, of course, Infinity Edge to make sure that he's not just a tanky Yone, he's a damage one as well.
I mean, I think if this guy gets 3-4 seconds alone with Gala, Gala's just dead.
Not even, but yes.
Should just, yeah, I mean, he should be able to shred him, no difficulty whatsoever. And the fact that Creme is having such a good game one is definitely such a remarkable thing in a room, in a lobby, with 9 other players that have won some international title, whether it was MSI or a world championship in the past. Creme is someone that came up through the OMG organization as someone that was a melee specialist, an assassin player, as Kanavi tries to fish for and engage on the mid lane. Meiko just flashes it away. And now Creme.
Mikhail's also used, it's worth saying, so if somebody else gets caught out, they don't now have that safety tool to keep them alive. Gala's cleanse is just coming back up off cooldown, so that was their one window to try and fish for something. They did get the flash out of Meiko, which again makes for a squishy target that should be able to be taken out if they can get access. But I will say, Meiko, the only person so far in this game to have not died, has been playing very well with his positioning, just making sure that he's giving the shields when necessary, but also recognizing a lost fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of on him to bail out his carries when they step a little too far forward. Obviously, Gala on the Ezreal, you have Flash, you have Arcane Shift, you have Cleanse. And if all 3 of those tools are gone, then Meiko's there with the Mikhails once it's available. So there's a lot of tools to bail out IG's last hope in dealing with these so terrifying solo lanes in Creme's Yone and 369's Rumble.
Game number 1 mark has taken us to 33 minutes already, and I daren't say that we're really close to knowing who's going to win. Still opportunities for both sides to find their mark in this game and to put the final nail really in the coffin of game number 1 when we're in this sort of late game situation. Despite there not being too many turrets taken, you know, our mid lane's still relatively strong with those structures. Very real world where one fight ends up taking the entire game. And Top Esports posturing around this Baron, making sure that they themselves have got the inside track, that they can hopefully put wrong some of those issues they had from the first Baron take.
Yeah. 45 seconds before that objective spawns, and if Top Esports want to play it cool, they can just wait for their potential third dragon coming up in under 2 minutes here and deny that Dragon Soul away from IG. For them, now that Jiejie has been completed for Creme, I mean, they don't even need to worry that the Otacon buff is gone. You've got a real Jiejie, and you've got a real means to be able to just dive into the backline, no regrets whatsoever, and really cause a lot of disruption for IG to deal with. As Rookie, it's kind of on him to face check, as he's actually picking a fight here with the Glacier Prison onto Kanavi. I mean, that's a tank. I don't know if you want to pick that target, and there is the follow-up. Chris finds the Magnastorm flash off of JackeyLove's arrow. Rookie tries to go back in, tries to disrupt for the team. Creme once again, and he's creaming, baby. Top Esports off of their mid laner, the one guy that hasn't had an international title yet, but he is going to show what the world he is made of in this world, as Gala is able to deal with 369, but the rest of Top Esports, they've got 3 strong against 1. Oh wait, Gala finds JackeyLove, but Creme still puts him away, and that might have saved the game from ending, but Top Esports surely could look for a Baron.
Yeah, you can see Top were looking to end the game there. Gala able to put just enough damage down to maybe save the game, taking out JackeyLove and 369 on the back of that fight. Baron, though, will be the consequence that IG suffer. And Creme popping off in this team fight yet again on the Yone. 7-0 and 8 this game. An absolutely titan performance to start out this best of 5 series. And you do have to beg the question, what were IG thinking? Looking for this engage onto the Sejuani of all people. We highlighted this in the draft. We highlight it once again. Top Esports have a front line. Typically, you don't want to engage on that front line. And Crisp, despite the fact that he goes down here, gets 4 people locked up in a Magnet Storm, sets up for Creme and 369, that fate-sealed equalizer. They didn't line up necessarily perfectly, but the combo of the two was devastating to IG.
And we come back to the question of barrier of level of execution for both of these compositions. Top Esports, as you called out, you have a dedicated front line. IG, you don't. So the fact that as soon as any one of your carries falls for IG, your damage output and your reliability of being able to win the fight goes down significantly, especially if your reset carry is one of the first champions that goes down.
Soul point now for both of these two teams, but Top Esports with Baron at their back, with the momentum really in their favour, and a 5,500 gold lead to boot, should be looking to finish off this game, to be honest. They've got the tankiness with Crisp and Kanavi, who, you know, Kanavi this game, matching pace with a Viego in terms of farm. Not something that you will typically see, especially as we move later and later into the game. Top Esports with all the control in this first game to try to close it out, but that one threat of Gala still exists. He's been a menace, the reason that Top haven't so far ended this game, and they still need to try and find an answer to that. Attempt to push in, stack these waves, and take a turret.
And unironically, in past games where IG were on the back foot, it was down to Gala to bail them out in these scenarios. They are down 7,000 gold against Top Esports now, and this team is a much more formidable opponent than the ones that IG were able to overcome in their respective group in RNG and FPX. So it's going to take a lot more than just a Gala clutch factor. Everyone on IG has to step it up here, as Top Esports still trying to continue the siege with the little remains of this Baron buff over the next 45 seconds. And they're just playing it slow for now, just letting the siege minions walk up and slowly pelt away at these inhibitor towers.
Yeah, I mean, Top Esports here pushing in this wave. Not sure that that's the correct plays. Stolen Arrow goes mid lane. Okay, they're just engaging.
Jiejie. That was the Mikhail's Crucible from Meiko, just bailing out his jungler in case he got collapsed upon by Top Esports off of the engage. But that's one tool gone. JackeyLove, I think the arrow's gone too. I can't tell with the spectator splash ARP.
Even still, that's pretty much job done for IG. As long as they can keep all of those turrets up, Creme put a big chunk down into the mid lane and may well just have secured the mid lane tier 3 turret Would have been a pretty... I mean, this is still a very successful base defense for IG, I will say. They only lost one turret. They didn't lose any inhibitors. The Baron, not as effective as top probably would have looked to have had it be. You know, you can question how well they'd, you know, played it out. Could they have synced those waves up and made it so that they, you know, crashed at the same time, found some more advantages through that? Maybe, but IG, nevertheless, playing much better and keeping themselves still in this match. And despite the, you know, the woes of being so far behind and well, let's call it having a bad game for the IG solo laners, they are both now 3 items and will be able to deal measurable damage, have a measurable impact in these fights if they're left unchecked.
And especially for Rookie, even though he is down 6,000 gold against Creme. Creme is now full build. So Creme can't get
stronger.
Can't get stronger anymore. So if for some reason IG are able to stall this game out longer, eventually the other carries of IG will be able to catch up to their counterparts, and then top esports advantage starts to look less and less impressive. But it comes down to how much top esports can actually use their advantage over the next few minutes as they're getting ready for both of these neutral objectives to spawn in the next couple of minutes.
And I remember, you know, back in 2014, 2015, my first indoctrination to competitive League of Legends games would go a lot longer than they do in the modern day. And I used to remember hearing, you know, the OGs back in the day say, oh, well, at this stage in the game, gold lead doesn't matter. But that you've just said right there, Mark, is a perfect example of why some of this gold lead is now a little bit misleading. Yes, there's you know, this 10,000 gold lead almost for top esports, but a lot of that is going to be unspent and on Creme that is effectively useless because he can't get any stronger.
Yeah. I got a little nervous for Jiejie there. He didn't know where the rest of top esports was, but they're looking for TheShy instead.
Dear.
There's the layering of the glacial ultimate. TheShy is the first target. Meanwhile, Creme and Chris are causing a lot of chaos in the backline once again, and this is it. Top esports found their members. No resets available as Jiejie looks for Chris Rel, and he gets out, but Rookie falls, and JackeyLove is going to be able to put him into the dirt. Jiejie, I don't know if you could pull off a miracle. You're down 1-4. It would be quite awesome to see, but the Q3 connects and clips him. That's the ace for top esports, and that's game 1 going over to them.
Took them 41 minutes, Raafaa, but they put the Nexus in the dirt, and top esports start out as we'd imagined that they might do. 1-0 up in this series. IG struggle their way through that game and make it difficult, don't get me wrong. But for 40 minutes, top esports there had to battle their way through IG. The 41st, they decide, okay, let's just fight. And they find an engage, they take TheShy down. And after all of that sort of build-up, the suspense of IG holding on, clinging into this game, it's just one quick engage. And it is ultimately the draft differential that we talked about, that at the end of the day, top can just engage and then look for a fight.
Now, for the benefit of IG fans, I will offer, you know, this cope. That's just game 1. And you know what? You now don't have to play against those champions anymore for the rest of the series. You know what? The classic Fearless cope. You're right. You know, you don't have to deal with Creme's Yone. You don't have to deal with Enchanted Crystal Arrow, Glacial Prison, Equalizer. These were all powerful ultimates. Hell, even the Rel, the Magnastorm. It was such a well-developed CC layer composition, but they only get it once, and now they're going to have to rely on other options. And for IG, the fact that they were able to, you know, yes, they still lost the game, but they found windows where they were able to display a little bit of that mechanical prowess in picking apart top esports in those skirmish scenarios. Maybe that's a strength that they want to go back to in future drafts.
Yeah, I think that they put too many eggs in too many baskets, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, the saying is you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. Well, they sort of spread them too thin instead. They did the opposite, and they found themselves relying on way too many carries. They didn't have somebody who was just going to be, okay, I'm on engaged duty this time. I need to be setting up the team more so than anything else. So there was, again, a little bit too much that this composition was trying to do for IG. I think going into the next game, they can, you know, maybe look to put either TheShy on tanks. Let's see if Jiejie wants to try and pilot something that's a little bit more facilitatory. But either way, rather, there needs to be some sort of change from IG, because drafting 4 carries plus Karma doesn't win games. And if they want to change it to Seraphine next game, 4 carries and Seraphine isn't going to do it for them.
But what if they try again, Rude, and they really
Run it back.
believe in themselves?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's like, hey guys, you know what? It couldn't work because they had too much CC. But this time, what if we do it again? You know?
Yeah, just the salty run back, but in fearless mode. You know, we'll try the same style of comp, but we'll just change all of the pieces and hope that it's close, similar identity maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Raafaa. I'm not on board with that. I mean, I did predict top esports 3-0, so maybe I want that to happen anyway. But I think for the benefit of getting IG to show like they've got something, we should see something else from them.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to find out soon as we get further and further into the series and see what drafts we have in store. We're still waiting on what the LPL broadcast is going to award for player of the game. Here we got some of the graphics here as well. I mean, as you called it out earlier in the game, Rude, Gala was kind of the one person that was keeping IG in the game, being able to find so many separated 1v1s against either 369 or JackeyLove, and hell, Jiejie had a couple hero moments himself, being able to steal that Baron. And I mean, we know from watching, you know, years of Viego now at this point, that if you give Viego one reset in a fight and it's not completely blown open, the Viego can just go to town and just rampage throughout the entire fight. Unfortunately, they just were never able to find that setup properly enough times.
Yeah, I mean, it can just be a champion that goes nuclear in these 5v5s if it gets given the chance to do so, but that wasn't the case this time around. And, you know, IG, you can tell, definitely struggled their way through this game. Worth saying that, like, I think that the cope that you actually highlighted that I think that IG fans should be taking is there were instances of IG hands checking, right? There were instances where also top esports weren't as synced as they needed to be. One of their concerns from the group stage was that top wouldn't be able to be consistent enough in this best of 5, and that they wouldn't be able to actually, you know, look as though they were a cohesive unit. Now, granted, they successfully found their way through this game number 1, but there were instances, once again, that we're seeing in this replay here, where they've gone too far forward, where they've struggled, and where some of those exploits can happen.
Yeah, and despite the fact that top esports, for the most part, as we already talked about, played super well and super punishing with their CC as soon as someone from IG overstepped their bounds, we have to call back to the fact that a couple moments where, you know, JackeyLove finds himself overextended because he's trying to be battle mode Ashe, frontline Ashe, and just going a little too far forward, and kind of rings echoes of the game when he was playing the Kalista and just finding himself a little too far forward in these team fights and overestimating his own I don't know, his durability and his ability to outplay those skirmish scenarios and fights as well. But, you know, overall, I mean, top esports definitely deserve their flowers, especially to the solo laners of 369. Fantastic Rumble game. Creme, definitely my pick for player of the game. I mean, his Yone, I mean, that was the star. And once again, we have to remind everyone that this is a lobby of 9 international champions, MSI and World Championships alike, except for Creme. The most that Creme has ever gotten was an all-pro nod, I think 3rd a year ago or 2 years ago. And this was someone that, through OMG, that was kind of like their biggest star that they wanted to nurture and develop and facilitate over, you know, multiple years. And finally, even though he was still the shining part of OMG's roster for several years, he finally got a chance to, you know, get away from the organization and try and see where his new ceiling could be on a team like top esports last year. Obviously, they weren't able to, you know, go as far as they like. They at least, you know, were able to go to the World Championship, and that was awesome. But this is now, once again, a new jungler that Creme has to play with, since last year it was Tien, and now it is Kanavi. And those two figuring out how to sync up with each other, at least in this game, was a great sight to see.
Yeah, I mean, the power was that they gave themselves a duo that works really well together. You're almost incentivized to play together, you know? You got this Yone-Sedge combo that they just thrive off of being able to play lanes together and to try and find those fights as a duo. And they did that so very efficiently, right? It was half the reason that they found such an advantage in the early game. But there's going to be times where those mid-jungle champions don't sync up quite as well, and where, you know, you're never going to get that perfect synergy again in this series, it feels like. If you've got just even a control mage, can completely alter how you're looking at this sort of game and how the jungle and the mid laner are going to pair up.
And look at that. I mean,
no surprise.
Yeah, it would have been pretty I don't know. Not
it would have been
bizarre,
very
but
difficult to argue for anyone else, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah, it would have been very surprising if it was anyone else. I mean, Creme deathless on the Yone. I mean, this is an absolute standout performance, and this is the kind of gameplay that you want to be showing off, especially for top esports as they try to make a run through the lower bracket.
Yeah, and I mean, Creme, or rather Gala, excuse me, had 3 deaths this game. They were all at the hands of Creme, right? There are 3 instances of Creme just ulting onto Gala, finding him in a lineup, just looking especially at the correct target. And yes, we get to see so many replays of him looking for picks on the other side of the map because he was just everywhere. But even in this fight, he gets double knockup with Fate Sealed, sees Gala, turns on him immediately. There's so many instances just recognizing what his job was. And it's just a worthy MVP. No more, no less.
It's almost a shame that we're not going to get a chance to see his Yone again this series. This is because that was beautiful, absolute masterclass on the Yone. But you know, something we have come to expect from the young mid laner who developed such a big name for himself on these melee carries and assassins during the early developmental years, and now has obviously put enough time into those control mages. But before we go to break and get ready for our second draft, we want to remind everyone at home that we're extremely grateful to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments are actually going into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on air talent and content creators. So make sure to subscribe to our Coffee, linked in the chat, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews, which, by the way, one of our unique interviewers, Patty, is on site for all of the playoffs. So shout out to Patty, who made the trip out of her own pocket. GOAT, legend, love Patty. Thank you so much, Patty, for making that and helping us here on the LPL Unofficial English broadcast continue to deliver as best of a product we can for the fans.